Hi everyone, this is Diane. I have been hard at work on these journals that have vintage sewing pattern envelopes as the covers. I have 8 of them in total. 4 of them are done, and I'm going to do a flip through of these, and these will be in my shop when you see the video. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to put these in my shop before Christmas or if I'll wait. I guess it depends on how well these sell. I know it's close to Christmas and it might be difficult for people to make purchases at this time. So we'll just play this by ear. I need to finish these. These aren't sewn together yet. But I just sewed these together, and I probably have a little finishing to do in them. So that will be done before I send them out. I'm also going to put together a packet, and I'm not sure of everything that'll be in the packet, but I know one of each of these will be in each journal or in the packet. I have these handmade items here just so I can tuck them in as I flip through if there's a spot that needs something. These colorful vintage, I think they're all from the 70s, lottery tickets, some playing cards. So these will either get tucked in or in a packet for you. And the newer things I have are some of the dry cleaning tickets, some other colorful tickets, doilies, bingo sheets, flashcards, and those are the other tickets, and some soda labels. I also have a couple of vintage items that will either be in the journal or in your packet, and some of the extra sewing pattern ladies and the sewing catalog ladies and pieces from patterns. Some of these things will be in your bundle, and probably some other things too. But let's just get into the journal. So 2 of the 8 journals will have the little girl's pattern, so I'm doing 1 in each of the 4 releases, or the 2 releases of 4 journals. So this one, I was going to name these, so let me write down some names for these. The little girl patterns are from the 50s, so I'm going to name them after my 2 youngest sisters. They were born in the 60s. I know the littlest one was. Barbara was born in the late 50s, so I'm going to name this one Barbara. And so each one will have its own listing, and you'll see the picture anyway. So they are sewing patterns that are Mod Podged to a file folder. This was a white file folder, and I used the back of the folder of the sewing pattern also, and then a strip of fabric with a sewing theme is on the spine. These are not specifically sewing themed journals, but they have a lot of pattern images, both from vintage patterns that I cut up and also from the pattern catalogs that I cut up. And also there are images from magazines, and there are things that don't have anything to do with fashion or sewing. So this one has some colorful thimbles on the fabric. I did some rickrack here and some pom-pom at the bottom, and I added these felt and embroidered flowers scattered on the envelope. I love the bright colors of this. There's seam binding sewn between the folder and the fabric. Each journal is lined with a fabric, and there is a library card on the inside with a collage that I did. Mostly it's die cut pieces, and every one of them has a piece of the vintage measuring tape. And I stamped the word live on this one. There's scrapbook paper at the beginning of each journal, and one of these folded up pockets. This is also from a file folder. And it has a pattern instruction image, a ticket, and some little like soft fabric flowers, and a tag with a digital button card. And then I tucked a recipe card in each of these, but I think I want to tuck something else in there. So I think this might be a good place for one of these vintage pieces. There's a piece of lace on the edge of that. The next page has a strip from a vintage ledger paper and a little girl that was cut from a pattern. I love that little girl. I love her colorful dress. And this is a digital, and these are die cut flowers with a little digital button in the center. This is vintage wrapping paper, and this little girl is just clipped on here. She came from a pattern, a vintage pattern, and you can use her somewhere in the book, glue her wherever you'd like. And this is a digital button card. Oh, and these two digital button cards are tucked into this. Here is a little collage of some dry cleaning tickets and a digital button. I used one digital page in each of the journals. I think each journal has 13 pages that are folded, so 13 times 4 is the number of pages that you have front and back. But each page has a digital, or each journal has a digital page, and it is from Polkadot Pixels, and it's called So Dear or So Sweet or something like that. I'll link it below. But they're collaged with pattern images and looks like vintage linens and whatnot. There's a tab there. And on the back of the digital pages is a digital lined page with a floral design. You can write over all of that. This is a vintage graph paper, and I stamped this little girl here. And there's a book page in each journal. And I put some black lace there. There's a ledger page here that's not vintage, and a little vintage children's card stapled on. There is a catalog or magazine page, vintage, in each journal. This is from a Sears catalog, little girls and their little pleated plaid skirts and wool skirts. Aren't they so cute? And there's that side. You could glue something here that you could journal on if you want to. And each journal also has another vintage pattern as a page. I love this one. And I just scattered a few flowers on that page. This is an image from a 1930s magazine where the mother is doing a hem for the little girl's dress, and that's the same one I just tucked in the front, so I'm going to switch that one out for this one, rent receipt. And this is a dyed paper that I purchased from an Etsy seller, and a digital button card. I love that button card. Little digital label up there. And then this is a bingo card. It's actually a paper like that. I backed it onto cardstock and then added a digital button card and a digital button. This is a collaged tag with a little girl from a sewing pattern, and I see the fingers are lifting up, and we don't want that to happen because they will break right off. These vintage patterns are fragile. So her fingers are glued down now. This is a music page. In the little girl pattern books, I used children's music, and in the other books it's not children's music, but it's music. Here's another, well, actually this is a digital. I actually have this image in a pattern book, counter catalog, but this is a digital that came from, might be Red Deb, one of her collections, and this is a piece of stationery. There's a doily with a punched flower and a digital button, and this is a page from a sewing book, sewing instruction book, and there's a little digital library card. Dyed paper, it's lined and a page from one of the counter catalogs, one of the big books. And I haven't decided. I think I'm just going to tie this. I'll just tie this in a bow and trim the ends. So far, I don't have anything I need to do in here, but I know that there will be. This is just paper clipped on, and it's a little card I made out of a collage backdrop and a little girl from one of the pattern books, and it has a vintage merchandise tag on it from YDC. I don't know what that is, but it says 3 for $1 on it. This is from the 1930s. No, it's earlier than that. It's from the early 1900s, 1910s. And it's advertising the little girl's coat and dress. And I have to put something in there, so that is something I need to do. I'll put some sort of a journaling card in there. There's the music paper. A little digital pattern girl. This one is the double pocket. It's on the back of the sewing pattern. And I did put some vintage tape. I had to glue some vintage tape on that because it was tearing. But there's a double pocket here. And in the back, there's a pink guest check and a flashcard, vintage flashcard. And I glued on some images from a vintage pattern. I had a lot of images from pattern envelopes that were torn up and in really bad shape. I salvaged the images that I could from those, and I had quite a pile of them. There's a little playing card and a digital button card. They look like little baby faces. And in some of the journals, I put this lottery ticket in this pocket, so I'll do that here too. She has her skirt spread out, all around her. This is from the Sears book, and it is from the 60s. This is a little digital girl, and a stamp over here. And here I used my Avon paper clip to clip on a Monopoly money and some tickets and another digital button card on the wrapping paper. So when I go through the other ones, I won't have to take all these things off. They all have the Avon clip with the same sorts of things. They're all very similar. They have the same stamps. Well, the little girls do, and the ladies have different stamps. They all have this, so there are 2 of these daily agenda pages there, pink pages and a blue library paper, or any color library paper, and digital or an image cut from a pattern glued to that. So you can just, fold that up, write on these, and then you can write here or add some photos or memorabilia. This is a little girl from a 1930s magazine, and I believe it was advertising that pattern. And I just glued her to some cardstock and cut her out. And this is actually from the back cover of an old school book, a soft cover school book. I love the wear and tear on this, but it was nice and sturdy, and it had this information about telling time on it. So you could write on this side, or I would just write on this, or you could glue something on it that you can write on. But you can write right on that color, I think, and it's nice and sturdy. And then on the back of each book, there is a seed packet. And there is a tag, or there will be a tag inside each one. I don't know if I did it to all of them. Some of them have a wider, if they have the P's, it's a wider envelope. And so this guest check could go right inside that. So I'm going to put this in here, and that means I haven't used the pink one. This, I believe, is cut from a sewing pattern. No, this is cut from the catalog. So let me find a place for this, and then we'll move on to the next journal. I'll tuck that right in there. And then you can move things around any way you want to. So this one is Barbara. So then the ladies' patterns are all from the 1940s, and they're all McCall's, and they all have ladies in the front with a scene in the back, and that's why I chose to use these in one collection. I had 6 of these patterns, all different. So in the 40s, let's see, my mother was born in 1935. Her mother's name was Virginia. So I'm going to name this Virginia. And I'm going to write gray because the flower here is gray. I used some of these embroidered and felt flowers on the fronts of all of the journals. And I used this gray one because of this black check. And then I added some color with the yellow. Her dress is more chartreuse. But there's black rickrack here and this really fun vintage pom-pom fringe. It's got the checkerboard pattern, so it kind of goes with that plaid. And it's got a white pom-pom with black fringe. Isn't that cool? And there's the back. And then the strip is a neutral color with a design that looks like it was printed from a pattern instruction sheet. And I used a pretty yellow fabric that was a dress from the 1960s that I got at a flea market. I just loved that yellow fabric. And here's the collage. And the little pocket with the pattern instruction ladies. And I think all of the tags have a digital button card on them. And a recipe in the back. And we will add one of these. So all of the journals have a piece of digital, a piece of vintage ledger and a little text spot, which is, I think they're all digitals. And this is a lady cut from a vintage pattern envelope. So I tucked another digital in here. Each book has a wrapping paper. I want you to be able to see it because I love that girl there. Looks like a wedding shower paper, and this one has a digital button card, and this lady that was cut from a pattern envelope. Isn't she elegant? And another collage there. Here's the digital paper from Polkadot Pixels with a tab. And that's one of my Simplicity Lady stamps. Here's the book page. It's a Dolls Around the World book. So there are several pages of this book in these journals. One page for one journal. And this vintage lace I think is gorgeous. I just stapled a digital hair oil label here. And this is a magazine page. Your Figure, Walk Pretty. She's an appearance counselor, United Airlines Education and Training Center. So she's going to instruct you on how to look like a United Airlines stewardess, apparently. On the back side of this magazine page, I glued a piece of digital embroidery transfer paper. That is from TaylorMade Journals. She has French embroidery papers as a digital. This is a lady from an old magazine with a really pretty dress, and she's posing with a statue of a little girl. Look at the white gloves on her hand. And I had this piece tucked in here, and just a tag that I cut out with my Cricut and Mod Podged a napkin to. So since I already have one of those in here, I'll put this one in. I added some of these to some of the journals, but not to all of them. So I don't remember what I did to what journal. And then here is the pattern, another pattern with the blouses, and I added an old millinery flower to it and this little label. folded the edge of the pattern over to help reinforce it. And I think there was a tear here, so I added a piece of this brown tape. It was gummed on one side, and I just got this from Emily at Polkadot Pixels. She sent me quite a long strip of this. This is a digital perfume bottle, and that just says Happy Life. There's the bingo card with a collage on it, and a collaged tag with a pattern lady. She's wearing a house dress. Some fabric bits up there. A digital lady. This came from a pattern, and is it this? Yep, it's from this pattern. No, it's not. The pockets are different, from a different pattern, but it's another house coat. Oh, this was in here, and I did back it onto some paper so you can journal on it. This is from a 1980s, no, it's a 1970s pattern catalog. So she's wearing this flounced skirt with a scarf wrapped around her hip. This is bonded stationery. Music page. It has the Erie Canal, Old New York State song. I remember singing that in grade school. There's a digital. On this side, it's Home on the Range. And the double pocket. This side has this edge of the pattern folded over too. They all have this playing card, I think. At least the lady patterns do. And a lottery ticket and a digital. It's the other side of that magazine. I think there was a tear in this pattern envelope, so I added that dry cleaning ticket. And this came from a 1940s magazine, I think, for Maybelline mascara. This I had made a while ago, so I just tucked it in here. Let me see if there's something a little taller. I don't want the little girl ones in there. And is this taller? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to tuck that in instead. And I'll probably, let me do this. I'll tuck some paper in there that you can journal on. And so I'll probably come back and add a ribbon or something to the top, but it doesn't go down all the way. This is from a sewing pattern. That was from the 70s. Those peasant dresses were very popular in the 70s. And this is a packaging from Bias Tape. And I backed it on cardstock and made it a pocket, and I added this postcard. And here is the, oh, what happened there? I got caught on something. The Avon paper clip with the pieces on there. And a magazine image. A tag made with pattern tissue and a lady cut from the pattern catalog, and some digital flowers. This one has a flower garden mix envelope, and I tucked this in side of that, and the guest check goes behind it. So I need to find a place for this one. So there's Virginia. That was my maternal grandmother's name. My paternal grandmother's name is Catherine with a K. So this one is Catherine with the blue flower. That's so I remember. And this one has a more muted color on the cover. It's a tan or light brown and a bluish gray stripe here. So I added a blue flower, and the daisies have a yellow center to add just a little color. This is a vintage pom-pom, and then I think this is vintage too. But the green tile floor, it's muted, but it is some added color. Has the same fabric here. And these file folders are the manila folders. So maybe 2 or 3 have the white folder. There's the collage on the inside with the vintage measuring tape. This is from a pattern, a real vintage pattern, and these pieces are digital. This is also from a pattern catalog. It's from a catalog. And this is some sort of a cosmetic label, digital. Some pretty black lace there. This is a digital toilet water label. This is from a magazine, and there was text up here that I covered with this pretty digital that I've had printed for a long time. And this one also for a shorter time, but I just used some pieces that I already had printed. And this is such a gorgeous dress here. It's got this fringe on her sleeves, and it's on the hem of her dress too. This is from a vintage magazine and a card that I had made a while ago. Here's the pattern envelope, and this is a blouse and a vest. It's got something blue on it here. There's another toilet water digital label. That's a digital. This I need to back. You could write on this, but it's a little bit fragile. So this is part of a pattern envelope with the sewing instruction book. This is from a 1970s sewing book. If you don't like the photographs of ladies, if you prefer the illustrations like I do, you could collage something or glue something onto those pages. Bicycle Built for Two, Oh, Them Golden Slippers, Red River Valley. All songs that I sang in grade school. Oh, My Darlin' and Pop Goes Weasel. A dyed paper. I want you to see the pocket. It's got measuring tape on the back and some sewing notions on that part. Can you see it? Digital button card. This has 2 pattern images on it. Some of the magazines, catalog pages, and pattern envelopes have reinforced centers. This was, oh, there's nothing in there. I'm trying to pull that out, and it's just a page. This was in a pattern catalog, and I have to put something in there. Well, that would work if I put a tab on it, but we'll see. I'll find something to go in there. There's the fringe at the bottom of her dress. Here is an antique postcard and a lottery ticket. This is from a vintage magazine. I think she's using Noxzema, but it's like ice. It might have ice in the name, and it's greenish aqua color. It looks like a gel. I just thought the image was cool. And one thing I have to do is add some seam binding to some of the tags. Oh, I'll get that later. She's actually from a pattern envelope, and those are digital flowers from Amity Bloom. And here's a zinnia pack with that tag and guest check. So I'm just going to stick this in the front so I'll remember as I go through to do my final finishing touches that needs to be added somewhere. So that's Catherine, and I have one more to show you. And I'm going to call it Ellen. And it has a yellow flower. So this is Ellen, and she's the brightest, I think, of the ladies' journals that I have in this set of 4. So it's red and white striped, and then a pretty yellow floral dress. And so the flowers are yellow, red, and orange. Red rickrack, red pom-pom. And the strip of fabric is bright buttons. Red seam binding. And this is a vintage fabric lining it. I think if I put this one in here, then I'll find this one later on in the book. Where'd that come from? Oh, came off of the edge of that book. She's a real pretty lady from a pattern. I love her. And I like the digital that I used here too. I thought the colors of both of these pieces look really nice with this wrapping paper. Oops. A nursery rhyme book. There's a little digital and a magazine page from the 50s or 40s. I think it's 40s. Look at her rolled hair. So this was pretty fragile. Yeah, I think it's a magazine. So I used another one of Lorna Taylor's French embroidery pages from Tailor-Made Journals. This is a lady from a catalog, and I added this little die cut piece to make her a little bit bigger to be a tuck spot. Vintage measuring tape there. Yep, there it is. I'm leaving it. I'll just add this one so you do get both. I love this pattern too for blouses. Pin tuck. I used to make some things with pin tucks. I just loved them. And a pretty millinery flower there. Digital perfume bottle. I made this on a video. This was a battered envelope, pattern envelope, so you can see some cracks or bends in her, and you can even see a little bit of, looks like masking tape was holding the pattern together. So part of her has a thin strip of masking tape on her, and this is a wallpaper digital. I think that's from Tailor-Made Journals too. These are digital pieces. This one has a digital, it's in French, and it's pharmacy something. This is a page from the 80s. Look at the big shoulders. And this is from a magazine, and it shows 3 different sewing patterns you could get. And this is a drawing that someone made, and I don't know if I found this at a flea market or if I got it in a Happy Mail. And I had the original, and I scanned it into my computer, so I was able to print this. I've had this in my stash, so I don't need to back it to anything, but I might put a tab or something on it. But I don't have the original anymore. I don't know if I don't know what I did with it. At least I don't think I have it. I haven't come across it lately. This is from a sewing pattern. It's a nightshirt. And this is a unique packaging for some sort of sewing notion from Kresge's. And I like the green in it, so I put in this green antique postcard. Little friend, I am going to school and like it fine. Hope you do too. From your little friend Lula. Written to Keith French. I bet Lula's dad or mom wrote that. What do you bet? An ad for a gripper, snap packaging, and from an old magazine. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. This is from a vintage pattern. And this one has the P packet, so this fits inside that. Getting caught on that. And so this one needs to have this in it somewhere. And that's it, isn't it? Yeah. That's all of them. So, Ellen. Actually, I'm going to name it Eleanor because that's my husband's mother, who I never met because she died when he was a child. So, Eleanor. Eleanor, Virginia, Catherine, and Barbara, all in my shop by the time you see this video. Thank you for watching. If these go well, if they sell well, then I will list the other 4 whenever I have them ready. If not, I'll wait till after Christmas to do that. And like I said, I'll be putting together a bundle of items to go with each of these journals so you have things to play with. And that would include some scraps of scrapbook paper too, in addition to what I already showed you, and some other items that I don't know yet. I'll just find a bunch of stuff and put them together for you. Thank you for watching. I had fun making these, and I have some sewing to do to finish up the other ones. And then I can take a break and do some Christmassy stuff around here. Not journals, but Christmas cooking and wrapping gifts and stuff like that. So I hope that you all are enjoying your holiday preparations, and I'll be seeing you in another video very soon, I'm sure. Have a creative day. Bye.